80% of customers abandon their bookings on travel sites. For one of the world's largest travel marketplace, there's millions in lost revenue every single year. Today, I'm going to show you how we help them to fix it in 30 days. Hi, my name is Edmund Chen, and for the past few months, we've been working with a global travel marketplace to build a system that can handle questions like vegan healing retreat in Bali under $3,000 and actually close the sales on the spot. Not just a chatbot, but a complete system that can go from discovery to holiday recommendations to actual bookings. First, I'll show you a full demo of the agent in action handling real customer interactions. Then, I'll walk you through what problems this solution actually solves. Next, I'll show you the high-level architecture of the solution of how we solve the discovery problem with thousands of retreats in the catalog. And if you want my agency to implement something very similar for your travel company or similar businesses, you can use the link in the description to book a discovery call with me and my team. And if you're new to this channel and don't know who I am, my name is Edmund Chen, and I've been running my own AI agency, Legacy AI, for the past year, where we've been helping different service brands from a $250 million restaurant chain with 200 plus locations in North America to one of the world's largest holiday booking sites, improving their sales and customer experience through conversational AI systems like the one you're about to see in this video. So let's dive into the demo. So let's actually move to the demo. Unfortunately, I can't actually show you the actual company name and the client name, so I have to change some information slightly just to show you a slightly different version of it. But hopefully this gives you the main idea of what we built for them, right? So we started off by saying, like any chat agent on the website, it will basically say, hey, I'm Dan, right? What kind of holiday are you looking for? So I'm just going to be a little bit direct, right? So I'm just going to be like, hey, a little bit stressed, but I'm looking to go on a holiday with my partner, let's say this Christmas, right? Absolutely. And then he's going to ask me some follow-up questions like, what's been causing this rat lately? And what you're both hoping to get out this time away together, right? So I'll be like, just work, right? And just want to spend more time with her somewhere warm, right? Break it down, especially when it's been building up. How long has it been since you two had proper time together without working getting away? And what does somewhere warm look like? Are you picturing beaches or more like, again, it's trying to clarify with the user a bunch of like follow-up questions, right? So I'll be like, it's been 2 months now, I would say. Probably, I would just say like, don't really mind. Honestly, anywhere warm is good, right? So I'm being a little bit fake. So heavy, right? So I'm home away from all the work pressure. What would that really feel like for you? So I would just say it would feel amazing as I can actually connect with her and share moments together. And then he's asking a question like, on the scale of 1 to 10, how important is making this Christmas getaway happen for you right now? I'll just say like 9. That's really clever. This matters to you. You can see how much time you spent using this together. So it's just gonna go ahead and pull a few options. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do an email. Like I'm just gonna put in a fake email. And it's gonna wait for like around 20 to 30 seconds. So it's gonna look for the perfect holiday. Now the reason why it's gonna take 20 to 30 seconds because it actually has almost thousands of different packages to search. Like it's doing a real-time search and it's gonna recommend back the appropriate holiday package according to what I've said and according to this conversational history. And as you can see, it goes go back and say the first one is an 8-day Christmas yoga retreat in Mexico during this date. And then it's basically saying, picture this, you arrive at this beach-tree century, toasting garden sand, watching boats by shore. It's trying to imagine the kind of vibe, right? What does it actually look like during holiday? So it's going to say the whole vibe is peace, no pressure, just the two of you finally having space to breathe and connect. Evenings, you'll fall asleep to ocean waves, etc. And the second one is a couples retreat, right? Again, it's really similar to the Christmas date, right? Designed specifically for couples. Your own private suite with a pool overlooking lush mountains, etc. Right? Yoga, spa treatments, guided conversations, etc. But which ones feel more likely right now? So it's giving me options. And if I actually click on this link, which I can't actually show you the actual link because it actually takes you to a website, the link will actually shows you like the holiday page, and you can actually book the holiday from there, right? So it's asking me which one is more important. So I'm going to say probably the first one because it's closer to Christmas time. And then I'm going to say, yeah, just that. Let's see what it replies. And then it will ask me questions like, what about that one feels like the right fit for you too? Right, so it's one time perfectly. The timing and like maybe like just say like we love the beach or some, yeah, probably the timing, and it's also longer, right? Something like that. Time to really unwind, etc. So the next step will be to go ahead to the page and actually click book instantly and secure your spot. And by the way, we're just going to be like, this is the deposit and there's the 73-hour cancellation policy, right? So this is kind of like the de-risking, right, during the sales. How do you feel about taking this step? I'll just say, not gonna lie, it feels a bit expensive, right? So I'm having basically a pricing objection, if you know this from sales. That's fair, right? 2025 is a real investment. That's the deposit, by the way. That's the deposit. This is the real price, and it's for 2 people. So that's why it's 2295. Just so I'm clear, if we remove pricing from the equation for a moment, let's say we would do this for free, right? So again, it's trying to do a pricing objection handling, right? So is everything discussed so far you want to move forward? Yeah, the plan sounds great. So it's just an investment. So when you imagine what your life would be like when you had to deep written connection with her, you continue on this path for like, where do you think that would go, right? 2 months of very proper time together, working stress building, and what's it look like in like a few months if nothing changed? So again, it's trying to really bring back the value. So that's why like it's really going to bring back the value. So I'm just going to be like, that would strain our relationship even further, right? Eight days of actually, what would that bring your relationship? What's the next stage for you two? Probably, closer and more fulfilling. And also great start to, let's say, to 2026. It's feeling closer and more together. Do you feel that change would be worth the investment, right? You mentioned this tonight. See, this bring back all the way the context of the conversations from ages ago when it said 9 out of 10. It's putting back the conversation history, and it's using that kind of to bring back the value to do the kind of pricing objection handling. You mentioned this was a 9 out of 10 importance to you. What happens to your relationship goals if it gets pushed out by another few months? Right, so it would mean a lot. It would mean a lot for us, right? I would say, yeah, it would mean we probably get worse. I can't let that happen. You have a real solution right here. 8 days in Los Cabos, December 20 to 27th. You can finally reconnect and start 2026 from a completely different place together. Want me to walk you through securing your spot? You can head to the page here. Now I unfortunately have to blur it out. And click book instantly. The deposit is this. And remember, you send 2 hours. Again, it's bringing back the risk, right? So it's really going for the close. And then at this point, yeah, this is basically how it looks like. And this is kind of the part where you kind of try to attract the customers to essentially book the holidays, right? So this is pretty much the demo that I wanted to show you. So now I'm going to show you a little bit like kind of a real life conversation with customers, right? And as you can see from here, you can see like some customer basically say a single women's of 50 solo traveler, and say this beautiful way this love, so can 50% powerful experience. what's drawing you towards a retreat right now? Is there something specific you're hoping to find leave behind? I'm just saying, like, to recenter ground myself, right? Again, it's trying to do the discovery, feels I'm proud to sign the right thing. It's actually happening through multiple conversational threads. So I'm just going to move through this conversation, right? Where I can distract myself business. I'm not focusing on my health and well-being, right? Again, it's trying to do discovery again. So when you imagine putting your health and well-being first again, what would that actually look like for your day-to-day? So I'll prioritize exercise and mindfulness, right? So again, it's trying to ask the user, like, what would that change look like, right? Again, that sounds like such a grounding foundation, movement for your body and mindfulness for your spirit. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, like the customer basically said 10, and it's going to go for the email, right? And then it basically go ahead and basically sort out the different retreats, like 3 different retreats, right? Recommending to the user, and then you are back again, right? At basically saying that 1 and 2 looks awesome, right? And but the national park, yeah. So it's asking why it is important, right? And then basically giving you the date options. I'm going over this really quickly, by the way. I'll have to do March day work, I think, right? So again, if I go back to the third conversation thread, I feel it's also to make sure this is my bad option. How are the reviews, right? So it's asking for the reviews. So again, it's giving the reviews based on the website data. And this is the reviews. And then you can book directly on the website, right? And then basically you go to the latest conversation thread, they say, yes, I booked, thanks, which is really good. That means they actually convert and actually do the sales, right? So I'm not going to go too much into it, but this is just an example of a live customer data from like, I think 2 weeks ago, 16, yeah, so it's 2 weeks ago. So this is the like actual production like solution essentially. Now, let me actually show you like kind of the business problem of like what problems they're having and what problem this solution actually solves. Right? So basically they go to a travel marketplace. And the first problem they're having is a lot that they notice is kind of the revenue and conversion leakage. So first of all, like currently they have a live chat team, but mostly they're doing kind of the customer support use cases rather than like being able to kind of do the sales, fill the sales set and actually do the sales of the holiday package and like trying to secure the booking rates. And because their main focus is just customer support, the live chat team actually has a lower conversion rate because a lot of the customers ended up just abandoning the booking process, like because there's some friction, like the flights don't work out, or some sort of communication delay, which I'm going to explain in a bit. So the conversion rate is not as good as it should be. And at the same time, the top of the funnel, there's a kind of leakage there because during the chat with the live chat team usually can't, like, again, in terms of the ability, it's not very good at recommending a holiday package, nor is it really good at cross-selling, basically there are different travel plans, which one is better, which one is worse. It's very difficult to kind of cross-sell, right? So that's what the first problem that they're noticing. And the second problem, mainly, what's causing the first problem actually is the operational bottlenecks and the scaling limits, right? So right now, again, they're mentioning the live chat team, which is 7 to 8 members, that's handling around 300 to 400 inquiries like every single day. And the goal of this is essentially what we're trying to do with this solution is to eliminate that kind of repetitive low-value queries that kind of clog up the live chat teams there, right? So they basically have to spend like almost a day, like 7-8 hours, just answering very basic questions like, give me some holiday packages in the UK, right? So they're very, very specific, but they can also be easily found on the website by just, searching for it. But unfortunately, a lot of the customers just ended up using the live chat team, like that kind of Google search engine. So it's basically taking a lot of time because you have to actually go through the entire retreat / holiday catalog containing thousands of different holiday catalog packages. And the human has to look through all of them and kind of filter it. Okay, which one is which, like by location, by the activity type, by date. And it's taking a lot of time for the human to just go back and forth, like to actually try to recommend them the perfect package. And a lot of the time during the 15-20 minute search, the customer just gave up and just leave, right? Because it's taking too much time. So that's the kind of bottleneck that they're having. And the second problem is kind of like to follow up. It's kind of like manual and it's time intensive, right? And they don't really have a way to systematically personalize every lead that interact with the live chat team. So again, this solution, because they're all auto-tagged, so it's eliminating the risk of the human error in follow-ups because again, the AI is essentially capturing the email as you saw earlier, and it's removing, it has history of all the conversational history. So it knows exactly which customer is based on the user ID, right? So it eliminates the risk of the human error in follow-ups and remove kind of the manual burden of tracking the maybe leads, right? So the ROI of both builds of the build, essentially, is to remove the busy work so the human, again, can stop acting like search engines and focus just on the more complex customer support use cases. And at the same time, it's kind of ensuring that every customer is basically ready to be nurtured through a nurturing sequence, right? Because they're auto-tagged throughout the customer journey. And this solves the problem of kind of a scaling limitations where as you scale, you can't easily handling the volume spikes or growth without kind of the big cost increases, while at the same time actually improving the conversion rate because of the third problem, which is the customer experience and service gaps, right? Because again, the live chat team is based in basically offshore, not in the United States. A lot of the time, because they're not 24/7, the time zone constraints basically mean there's a delay of several hours, like for example, for US-based customers. And the whole point of the build really is to eliminate that waiting room, that kind of 5-hour lag, especially for them, that kind of kills the conversion. Because if a US customer has a question, the customer support team is not live, then you have to wait like 5-6 hours. They will have moved on to another travel agency. Because you have to remember, in the travel industry, it's really competitive and speed to lead is really, really important. If you got ghosted or you don't reply to a customer in 6 hours, they're most likely to move on to someone else, right? So it's very important to get it right in the first time. So the ROI here is really to ensure that no US customers kind of wait for an answer again, to eliminate that time and therefore boost that conversions rate. And kind of this also solves the problem of the inconsistent coverage and the lack of personalization that we talked about in the follow-up, right? So this solves 3 problems. So maybe I can kind of explain on technical architecture how this actually looks like. So we're basically using Voiceflow, which if you don't know, is a low-code solution for say conversational use cases. I've done a big 2-hour tutorials on Voiceflow. You can actually click somewhere here at the end of the video to check out the 2-hour masterclass on Voiceflow. So in Voiceflow, basically we have a sales discovery conversational flow. We basically divide the conversational flow into 3 parts. The first part is discovery, as you saw, which is basically digging for any emotional clues or basically digging for any specific criteria that the user needs and trying to give a more empathetic response. But unlike its very standard generic robot, it's actually trying to ask follow-up questions that are relevant and specific to the user's needs to try to dig deep into what the user and why the user actually needs this holiday right now, right? And if the user provides any location or date, like the Christmas that I just showed you, or the budget preference, then it would take all these considerations and it's going to fetch recommendations from the backend, right? So we're using Voiceflow as just for the sales conversation, like a sales AI agent, but the recommendations actually happen through a custom-coded solution using Llama Index, Fast API, and Killjoy. So if you're not technical, you don't have to really know what they are. Just know that they're basically a backend custom-coded solution so that because there are basically thousands of different holiday packages in a database. So Qdron is basically a vector database. So we built this entire workflow custom coded. So it allows us more control and flexibility in implementing a search algorithm, essentially based on users' requirement to retrieve the most relevant holiday info chunks back to the Voiceflow, which is again, the sales conversational flow agent, right? And after retrieving the holiday information, the client has a server which we can retrieve the pricing info dynamically. The reason why is because the prices for the holidays are seasonal, meaning that for Christmas, the prices will be different to the summer. So that's why we need to fetch it in real time rather than just storing it in the prompt, let's say, right? Then it's going to give a human response, as you can see. So as you can see here, it's trying to paint the picture, right? You have different options, and then you say, picture this, right? So it's basically allowing the user to imagine what the holiday actually looks like so they can imagine it in your head, right? And then it would do any objection handling, as you saw, for example, for the price. As an example, someone basically asked if it's in Australian dollars, but it's actually in US dollars, right? So the customer's saying, oh, that's a lot more. And then he's trying to do the pricing objection, agreeing with the customer, isolating the objection, and actually trying to do some of the objection handling, right? What's your sense of important finding a solution, right, for you right now, right? Similar to what you saw in the demo. It's something similar to this. And also, if sometimes the user said, oh, I need to check the flight, I need to think about it, right, which is another objection, then you need to do the relevant objection handling, right? So again, just from your side, if you're putting a flight several moment, are you happy with everything else, the retreat, the timing, and then, yeah, so basically this is another way to kind of handle the objections if they have basically an external problem. And after the objection handling, as you can saw, it basically gives it the holiday booking link. The user can click the link, go to the booking page and just go ahead and book it. And that's the closing, right? So hopefully that gives you an idea of how the entire flow, at least from an architecture perspective, looks like. Hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of how it works, right? And if you are a travel company or if you're a business that wants some sort of recommendation or sales agent implemented for your business, you're welcome to use the link in the description and the comment to book a free discovery call with me and my team, and then we can have a look at your specific use cases. And if you enjoyed this kind of video, remember to like, comment, subscribe. I do a lot of kind of low-code tutorials, especially on Voiceflow, retail, etc. So you're welcome to stick around and watch the rest of the video. But yeah, that's it for now, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.